This last Wednesday, in the final round of the latest Wachusett Chess Club tournament in Fitchburg, I played against Rob King, who is the highest rated player at the Wachusett Club with a rating of just over 2,200 and is a national master. So I knew this was going to be a tough game. I had white, and I opened with d4. Rob played e6, which is a deviation from what we've played in the past when I've had white. We have ended up in a lot of Queen's Gambit declined exchange variations. I played c4, and he played b6, knight c3, and bishop to b7. And I was a little bit excited at this point because prior to this game, at some point within the week prior to this game, I saw a video or an article or something about how after e4, bishop b4, bishop d3, if black plays f5, white can go ahead and take that pawn, because after bishop takes g2, winning the rook in the corner, white has more than compensation with the move queen to h5 check. So I knew here that I should play e takes f5, and I did. Rob played bishop takes g2, queen h5 check, and now black only has one move. If he plays king to e7, he'll immediately lose to queen g5 check, picking off the bishop on g2. And if he plays g6, he's going to run into f takes g6, when knight f6 is not an adequate defense because of g7 check. And even though black wins the white queen, white makes a new one. So black must play king f8. I played f takes e6, and am immediately threatening queen to f7 checkmate. Rob briefly reached over to grab his knight, which he intended to put on the f6 square, which would have been the best moment of my life, but then he didn't touch it and played queen e8 instead. So I didn't have mate in one. I played queen f5 check. I can't really trade queens, because without the queens on the board, when black takes this rook on h1, he'll just be up a lot of material without me really having a way to attack his king. The only thing that is, the main thing that white has going for him is that the black king is vulnerable and white has a queen. So I played queen f5 check, getting my queen out of the way with tempo. Rob played basically the only move, knight f6. And now after d5, I was confident that I was better. I am holding on to this nice pawn on e6. I am going to lose this rook on h1 at some point, but the black king looks pretty vulnerable. I thought I had a pretty good position. Rob played d takes e6. I played d takes e6. And then he found the move queen g6, which is an extremely nice way to offer the trade of queens. Again, it doesn't really make sense for me to trade on g6. Queen takes g6, h takes g6, because there's no way to defend the rook on h1. So I'm just going to have, in short order, a losing position. Unfortunately, though, there's no square to which I can move the queen from which it defends the bishop on d3, which means my only option at this point was to sacrifice the bishop in order to continue my attack. So I played queen to f4, with the idea to come into c7 and threaten once again to play queen f7 checkmate. Rob played queen to d3, grabbing my bishop, and now he's up a piece and will soon also be up the rook in the corner. So if white doesn't have a way to get the black king, black's going to be winning. I played queen takes c7, threatening queen f7 checkmate, and Rob played bishop to e7, putting his bishop in the way of that checkmate. And my eyes lit up briefly here when I realized that the move knight d5 looks strong. And that's because if black plays knight takes d5, his knight is blocking the queen's defense of d8, which allows queen to c8 check, bishop d8, queen takes d8 checkmate. But sadly, Rob did not fall for that. He played, Rob would not have fallen for that. Had I played knight d5, he would have played bishop takes d5, when I don't have anything. And black is even threatening at this point to immediately win the game with bishop to b4 check. So after bishop e7, I played f3, And the idea here is that I want to put my queen on the b7 square and grab the rook on a8. But I can't do that with the bishop on g2 staring at that square. So f3. Rob played knight to a6. I played queen to g3. I'm trying to remember what the problem was that I discovered with queen b7. Turns out not to be a very good move, but I don't remember exactly why. Maybe there's just too much of an attack. Oh, I think black just plays rook d8 here. And of course, if I take this knight on a6, queen f1 is checkmate. And I hadn't even seen this queen f1 move, so it was only at this point that I realized queen b7 wasn't even going to be a reasonable try. So I played queen back to g3, hoping the queen could defend my king a little bit, threatening to take this bishop on g2. Obviously, a 2200 is going to miss my threat to play queen takes g2, so this was a great practical try. He played queen f1 check, king d2, and then grabbed the rook, which is just a sensible thing to do. Black now has a much better attack than white does, and is up a piece and a rook. I played knight g to e2 because black was threatening the queen trade queen g2 check, which makes his win even easier. And after knight g to e2, Rob played queen takes f3, offering another trade. But I can't really trade, again, because I'm down a rook and a piece, so I played queen g1. Rob played knight b4, and is now threatening either queen d3 or rook d8 with devastating consequences. I played knight to d4, which is the only defensive kind of looking move I could find. And now, if Rob plays what he did in the game, which is queen d3 check, and I play king e1, at least if he plays knight c2 check, I can grab that with my knight. And here Rob blundered with queen takes d4, giving up his queen, and he immediately resigned. Nope, that's not what happened. Queen takes d4 actually doesn't lose a queen, because if I play queen takes d4, knight c2 forks the king and the queen. So after queen takes d4, it was I who resigned. And you might wonder why I'm posting such a really badly played game on my part. And it's just that I decided a little while ago when I made this channel that I would commit myself to posting every USCF rated loss I experienced from that point forward. So this game's a little embarrassing, but why don't we go back to the beginning and see if we can find improvements for white. Okay, that video or article or whatever it was I saw that said white should go ahead and take on f5, Rob pointed out to me after the game, did not apply to positions in which the black dark squared bishop was already on b4. And that's because after this queen h5 check, black has the f8 square. In fact, after white's move e takes f5, the computer evaluation drops to -3.5 or -4. So I was losing in 6 moves. Not my best performance. Yeah, and I mean that's really pretty much it. As far as I know, there was no chance after this for white to get back in the game, and that's what you expect against a very strong player. And that makes it so that my results against Rob in our last 4 games, something like 0 out of 4. So he's clearly a better player than I am at this point. But I always like playing him because he's the kind of guy, normally when you play at these clubs, if you're one of the higher rated guys, you can't really afford to lose. But Rob's one of those guys I can lose to and not feel all that bad about it. All right, thanks for watching.